There is abundance in the world. When the rich thinks about money, like we mentioned already, it thinks about excess. It thinks about abundance. So when the poor thinks about money, he's always thinking it's not enough. So the poor is afraid to invest. The poor is afraid not to lose his money. So he's always coming from the standpoint of not losing what he already has. While the rich thinks about investing and making more. So why does the poor think of not losing? Because he has a scarcity mentality. This is, we're talking about wealth now. These are the things that leads to wealth. First and foremost, an internal state of bliss, not controlled or determined by outward circumstances. But this is what they know. The reason the rich are rich is because they do not focus their attention on what is seen. They do not focus their attention on the foreclosure. Money is a shadow of something else. And that's very important for you to understand that money is a shadow of something else. That something else is value. There's a secret that wealthy people know that makes them rich and wealthy. And this is exactly the same thing that the poor do not know, that seem to make it look like they are always short of money. First, the rich people, they have a consciousness. And that consciousness is called abundance consciousness. It is this consciousness of abundance that makes them able to generate the kind of wealth, the level of wealth that they have. And the secret that they know has to do with value proposition. The rich understand that wealth creation depends on how much value you can create, how much value you can dispense, how much value you can give to the customers, the people, and the world. Because without value, you literally cannot make wealth. In talking about wealth, we must look at the issue of money. We can't quite talk about wealth successfully without talking about money, okay? Because first and foremost, the standard by which the world defines wealth is money. So when you want to ask someone right now and say, how wealthy are you? What the person is thinking in his mind is, how much do you have? So let's define money or look at money if we will be able to understand what wealth really is. Now, a lot of people would think that money is the notes, the currency they have in their wallets or in their bank accounts. Money is not what you have in your bank account or those stacks of bills in your wallet. That is simply just paper that is stamped or inked by the central government or the central bank of whatever country you live and has been termed a means of value exchange, okay? A means of transaction. So those bills, those paper, they are just legal tender, okay? Just a means by which government has approved that we can exchange value for goods and for services. So the challenge that many now have is that they think that money has to do with those papers. Money is those bills. So when they have a lot of these bills, they feel good. When they are short of these bills, their temperature begin to rise, okay, because they're always looking at their bank account. But the rich do not think about money, paper bills, when they are thinking of wealth. What do the rich think about? They think about value. It is safe now to say that what we generally know as paper money is not money at all. Money is a shadow of something else. And that's very important for you to understand that money is a shadow of something else. That something else is value. Value within us. Not the value on things, but the value that rises and falls within us. What we are trying to say in essence is, it is us humans that give value to something. And the value we place on things determine how much those things are worth. That's clear enough, right? The worth of a thing is dependent on how much value we place on those things. Okay? So, having said that, we say money is the physical representation of a certain section of our internal value. And that's very important to note. And again, another thing to note is that paper money does not represent money accurately. Yes, we have said that paper money is not money. But yes, we use paper money as money to trade. Okay? So paper money in itself is, again, does not represent money accurately. Why? Because it has been shown that money, as it were, only about 4% of the total sum of money that people think they have exists in paper money. And that's very alarming. Okay, I read an article some time ago how that one of the economic crashes that happened in the world, even though that was not exactly what led to it, but it contributed, where out of fear, people began to go to the bank to ask for their money, only to discover that the bank didn't have their money to give them. Because if the central bank, or if the bank was to print or mint money in paper in equivalence to how much everybody has, think about the amount of money that Warren Buffett has, that Dangote has. Think about the money that Elon Musk has, the money that the Microsoft boss has. Think about the money that Google boss and all the rich men in the world, all the billions of dollars and pounds that they have. And think about the money that all the 8 billion people, rich, poor, and so on, has. If they were to be in paper money, this world will not contain it. Okay? The whole world will not contain it. So paper money only exists about 4%. So where are all the monies that you think you have? They are just figures and numbers that are written against your name. So that makes something very clear, that money is actually an illusion. Money is just a figure in your head. I have 1 billion naira. I have $1 billion. It's just a figure in your head. It's an illusion. Money does not exist. Money exists only in the minds of the poor. Like I mentioned before, the rich does not think about money when they are thinking about wealth creation. Okay? The poor thinks about money because money is the poor man's communicator. The poor man thinks he has no voice because he does not have money. The poor man cannot move from point A to point B because he does not have money. When the poor man has an idea, what he's thinking about is how much to execute the idea. And if he's told him how much it will take to execute the idea, he abandons the idea because he thinks his hands cannot get to it. In other words, this is out of his reach. But when a wealthy man has an idea, no matter how high or lofty that idea is, in other words, no matter how much is connected to that idea, he does not start thinking about money. What he starts thinking about is, what can I do? How can I help people? He starts thinking about all the people he can mobilize to generate that money. So why does he think like that and the poor does not think like that? It's because there is something that he has in his mind. There's a consciousness he has that the poor does not have. And the consciousness that the rich has is the wealth consciousness. And wealth consciousness simply means abundance consciousness. You understand that? Okay? There is abundance in the world. When the rich thinks about money, like we mentioned already, it thinks about excess. It thinks about abundance. So when the poor thinks about money, he's always thinking it's not enough. So the poor is afraid to invest. The poor is afraid not to lose his money. So he's always coming from the standpoint of not losing what he already has. While the rich thinks about investing and making more. So why does the poor think of not losing? Because he has a scarcity mentality. Okay? It's just like somebody thinking, I don't want to breathe too much air so that it will be enough for everybody. Can you ever imagine that? You are thinking that if you take in too much air, others may not have enough to breathe. There is abundance for everybody. God created abundance for everybody. Whether air, you look at air, look at water, look at leaves, look at natural things. You can never deplete nature. Is everything that God created is in excess. Yes, God did not create money, but God gave man the ability to create money. Money, paper money comes from trees, right? Paper money is from wood, and wood is in abundance. So the point we're trying to establish here is that wealth is abundantly available for everybody. That is abundantly available for everybody does not mean you will have it. So if you do not understand what value is, you cannot really understand what money is. And the less of value you understand, the less of money you will have. There's a scripture I like to use to express this fact. Okay? Like I mentioned, the rich does not look at the amount they have in their bank account. They don't think about it when they are dealing with wealth. The poor is ever controlled by how much he has. The steps he takes, the investment he makes, the idea he chooses to accept or reject is based on his attention. You know, we've always talked about where your attention is, that's where your energy is. Okay? Attention creates energy. When you focus on something, all of your creative energy is on that thing. All right? And the ability for you to generate or create a new reality is based on what your attention is on. And the Bible makes something very clear to us in 2 Corinthians 4:18. I want to read from the TPT version, that's the Passion Translation. Okay? Very, very powerful scripture. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 15. We're actually reading down to 18. The TPT translation. It said, yes, all things work for our enrichment. That's abundance consciousness. It's only a rich person, only someone who has wealth consciousness, who thinks abundance, that can be bold enough to say all things work for my enrichment. In other words, everything is working for my good. The economy makes no difference. Who likes me or who hates me makes no difference. Okay? All things works for my enrichment, so that more of God's marvelous grace will spread to more and more people, resulting in an even greater increase of praise. Look at something there again. All things work for our enrichment, so that more of God's grace will spread. So things are working for me, not for me to hoard. All right? Things are abundant for me, not for me to hoard. Because we mentioned already that to hoard something is akin to thinking that it's not enough. So it's working for me so that I can spread the grace, so I can spread the love, so I can spread the wealth, so I can spread the goodness, so I can spread the goodwill. And the more you spread what you have, the more glory God gets. You see that? The more you spread what you have, the more you give value, the more you help others to achieve their goals. Okay? I think it was Jim Rohn that said, the way to success is helping others succeed. So as you help others become the best of who they can be, you are also helping yourself. And it says, grace, as it increases, it brings praise to God. So in other words, I am happy that I'm helping you. You that I'm helping, you are happy. God himself is happy because everybody in the same circle of life benefits from the enhancement that comes to me. Okay, so yes, all things work for your enrichment so that more of God's marvelous grace will spread to more and more people, resulting in an even greater increase of praise to God, bringing him even more glory. So, no wonder we don't give up. For even though our outer person gradually wears out, our inner being is renewed every single day. This is something very powerful still. It says, we know how life works. We know that no matter the circumstances, it will work for our good. And as it's working for our good, we are blessing humanity. So when challenges of life comes to us, he says we can't give up. We don't give up. Because we know that these challenges, they are coming to us to help us become the best of who we are. You know, Peter talked about our faith. He says like gold put in fire. When you put gold in fire, what happens to the gold? It becomes more refined. So it's almost as if we are celebrating when troubles come. It's almost as if we are celebrating when the things that people are committing suicide for, the things that people are feeling like, hey, why me? Oh, what a life. Hey. Like, come on, because these things get the best out of us. You get it now? He says, so no wonder we don't faint. We don't give up. How can we give up? Because these challenges, he says they are light. And I think the KJ says they are light afflictions. So things may be happening to us outwardly. Your body feels sick. You don't have enough money. You know, it seems as if the whole world is on your shoulders. Everybody is almost feeling sorry for you. That's outward. He says, our outward man, our outward person, the figure that you see outwardly, it may be affected by the circumstances outwardly. He said, but our inner person, we are getting renewed. So the more the flesh, the more the outward is beating, the more the inner is renewed. Now, is that to say that, okay, let the beating keep coming? No, he's only trying to tell you that we love to live a good, happy life. We love to live a successful life. But again, if the equation of life, if it happens that what is adverse comes, we don't win. We don't cry. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. The challenge may be presses others so badly they kill themselves. Presses others so badly they fall into depression. Presses others so badly they say, why me? But the same thing happens to you because you know that all things works for you, for your benefit. You are relaxed inside. So when it says your inner man is enjoying, doesn't mean that, it means that I'm not disturbed. You are still in a state of tranquility, peace, serene internal environment, in spite of what happens outwardly. This is, we're talking about wealth now. These are the things that leads to wealth. First and foremost, an internal state of bliss, not controlled or determined by outward circumstances. Your outward circumstance does not determine your inner balance. Just talking about it alone makes me feel great. I feel like I'm assaulting. Why? Because this is a state, it makes you different from every other person. It makes people wonder, why are the things troubling them not troubling you? The point is, we don't give up. For even though our outward person gradually wears out, our inner being is renewed every single day. What causes that inner being to renew every day is consciousness, your awareness that everything is working out for you. Then, this is where we're going now. It says, we view our slight, short-lived troubles in the light of eternity. We see our difficulties as the substance that produce for us an eternal weighty glory far beyond all comparison. How can a man come to this point of his life where he's calling the things that causes people to hang themselves, put a bullet through their own heads, the things that make people jump from 10-story buildings, The things that make people run into a moving train and kill themselves. He says it's a light challenge. He says a momentary affliction. He says a short-lived troubles. And he says he has come to see that these difficulties, they produce for him an eternal weight. Look at the term he uses, weight. So the more the challenge is, the more the weight of the glory that will come to him. And this is true for everybody. We're talking about what makes the rich rich, what makes them richer. Some people think the rich are richer because the poor are poorer. So they have come to the agreement or to the conclusion that rich and wealthy people are wicked people. They are siphoning all the monies of the poor to become richer. Okay, but this is what they know. This is what Donald Trump knew. Donald Trump has always been a billionaire. Of course, Donald Trump now cannot think in terms of millions. He cannot think that way because his mindset has been completely altered. In the late 90s, I think, Donald Trump became bankrupt. Of course, that was one of the times where the real estate business crashed completely. So Donald Trump was owing in billions of dollars, while all his mates were filing for bankruptcy. He didn't. He bounced back because of this same consciousness. The rich, when they lose money, they are not scared. Or rather, let me put it this way, the truly rich and successful people are not scared to lose money because they know what produces the money. It's a mindset that produces the money. So Donald Trump was not disturbed, was not perturbed. Yes, everyone was coming after him, the banks, the government, everybody was coming, but he was not shaken. He made his money back, and he is the Donald Trump again that we know today. Okay, so he calls it light challenges. We see our difficulties as the substance that produces for us an eternal weighty glory far beyond all comparison. Because, when there's a because, it's trying to tell you this is the reason why it happens like this. We have seen from beginning, he said, nothing worries me, nothing disturbs me, because everything works for my good. It does not matter the economic situation, whether dollar is 2,000 to, he said, does not shake him. It's happening, turning out for his good. Then he now compares that the challenges he's going through is small, is sweet potatoes. In fact, the Message translation says is light potatoes. He said these things are working for me an eternal weight of benefits because. So you need to now take note of this because it's telling you the reason I get the kind of results I get is this. So what he wants to say now, we should look at it very well, because this is the reason why he gets the kind of results he gets. Because we don't focus our attention on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporal, but the unseen is eternal. The reason the rich are rich is because they do not focus their attention on what is seen. They do not focus their attention on the foreclosure. They do not focus their attention on the money that is no longer flowing. When the poor loses his job or loses his business, he says it's finished. But when the rich has a challenge, his attention, he does not negate or deny the fact. Take note of this. To have a wealth consciousness, to have abundant consciousness, to have faith does not mean you do not see that there's a trouble. In fact, faith is not a denier of the fact. Faith is denying the fact, the right and the privilege to control how you will feel. You are not denying the fact that there's a challenge, but your attention is not there. So it says, because we don't focus our attention on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporal, and that's the key. I mentioned the other day, I said, anything you can see can be changed. This is what the rich knows that the poor do not know. The rich knows that no condition is permanent. What he needs to find out is, what brought me into this state? Why am I where I am? And how can I get out of it? Because every result is based on the program. Your program determines how you think. How you think determines how you feel. How you feel will determine the actions you will take. And your result is based on your actions. So, he's trying to tell us, my attention is not on the action. My attention is not on the result, because the result can be seen. The programming cannot be seen. Can you imagine? The programming cannot be seen. It's internal. So, why did I get this result? There must be something I did wrong, or there must be something I didn't know. So you take your attention away from the result. No money in the account. The business failed. The relationship failed. There must be something that I didn't know, rather than looking for who to blame. So another quality and characteristic of the poor is that they are looking for who to blame for the circumstance. But the rich is not looking for who to blame. It's trying to check the program that caused this result. Okay, so what you can see is temporal. In other words, can be changed. What you cannot see is internal. So the attention should be on the eternal.